The Circuit Paul Ricard has been given over to delectable GT machinery this weekend. Yesterday we had a 6-hour race for the Blancpain GT Series. Today, 2 races for the Blancpain GT Sports Club. The amateur driver contest, which delivers great racing and a nice varied grid. The cars are making their way out onto the circuit for the qualifying race, the grid for which is based on the qualifying time set yesterday, and the result of which determines the grid for the main race. This is a 25-minute stanza. The second race, the main race, longer at 40 minutes, and we have a very lively race in prospect. We understand one or 2 drivers may be missing from the grid, but confirmation will come shortly as to whether that is the case, because a number of cars and drivers were in the 6-hour race yesterday, and so if they have dramas, that might well affect their chances of going racing today. The circuit is over 5 kilometres long. It has the interruption to the Mistral Straight in the configuration that the Blancpain GT Sports Club uses, with the chicane put in, and Anthony Pons, the man that will start on pole position, having had 1 qualifying race win already this year, is the man who leads the championship ahead of Cedric Lima, and then the absent John Minshaw, who won both races, the qualifying and the main, at Silverstone a month ago. We've had a great variety of drivers taking part in the championship this year. There's also a really good mix of car with the BMW M6 on the grid. You've got Ferrari 488s. There are Ferrari 458s represented, the Mercedes SLS AMG GT3, the older shape, the current Mercedes AMG GT3, Lamborghini Huracans, Lamborghini Gallardos, and it all adds up to be a very good championship, this, with battles all the way down through the field. You've got drivers of differing levels of experience. Some have raced in the Le Mans 24 Hours, for example, and therefore you could argue race at the top level of sports car racing, like Anthony Pons, the poleman. Others are true gentleman racers who are attracted to this championship because you actually get a lot of track time, although the feeling is that if you're an AM, you should go off and do the AM Cup in the Blancpain GT Series. There, of course, you're sharing the car, so whenever there is track time available, you've got to cycle through 3 drivers. Here, you're on your own, so you get 2 free practice periods, qualifying and 2 races. There's an awful lot of mileage for your money. The cars making their way up onto the grid. David Addison trackside as you look at the Lamborghini there of Claude-Yves Gosselin, the ex-Formula 3000 racer and part of Paul Belmondo's FIA GT squad many moons ago. He's lining himself up on the grid, but it's going to be Anthony Pons on pole position, Claude-Yves Gosselin for the outside of the front row there. The Grasser Racing team owned, but HP Racing run Lamborghini Huracan of Daniel Voigt, the German driver heading up towards the line, and the Huracan GT3, the type of car that's had great success this year in both Blancpain Sprint and Endurance. And that car now putting itself onto the outside of the 7th row of the grid, having qualified 13th fastest in the race, in the session yesterday. There is, for the inside of the front row, Claude-Yves Gosselin, the car run by the Boutsen-Gignon racing team. Thierry Boutsen himself is here. Thierry, who will have raced here, of course, in French Grand Prix days, and the circuit due to be on the Formula 1 calendar next year for Formula 1 as it returns to France, which is a very welcome addition to the calendar once more. There you can see the Mercedes fleet lining up at the grid, including the ACA ASP car. One is in the hands of Maurice Ritchie. There's another, hopefully, in the hands of Daniele Perfetti. I say hopefully because the car he was scheduled to drive had problems last night, lost a wheel, had a spin already on the way round to the grid for Christoph Ulrich. That's a little bit frustrating, to say the least, for a rookie driver coming out of the last corner. Christoph Ulrich, who's racing the 24-hour series, new to Blancpain GT Sports Club this year, but making his way now towards the grid. A little chasen. How did he do that? Let's see. Patrick van Glebaeke goes through the shot, and Christoph Ulrich just accelerates a little bit too hard on very cold tyres, loops it. Thankfully, it doesn't hit anything solid, but to do that on your way to the grid is rather disappointing. Fingers crossed he's got that out of his system now and won't be in any further strife over the course of 25 minutes of racing. The pole position time yesterday done initially by that car, 22 Ferrari of Alex Demergian, but he then got hit by 2 penalties. One was that on the lap that he set the time on, he was deemed to have cut the chicane, so he lost that lap, and he also made contact fairly solidly with the Ferrari during the course of the session in the hands of Marco Galassi, and a consequence of that was that he got a 3-place grid drop. So he was 4th after his best lap time was deleted, and then a further penalty took him away from pole position to 7th on the grid. So Alex Demergian, the Lebanese driver who was a winner in the Blancpain GT Series AM Cup at Monza at the start of the season, has now got a lot of work to do. There is a man effectively on home soil, Patrick van Glebeke, who runs the Curbstone Track Days company, which is based at Paul Ricard. Patrick van Glebeke lining up third on the grid, with Cedric Lima's Lamborghini due to be alongside. There's Karim Auger threading his way through to the grid. And in the background, you've got Cedric Lima's Lamborghini, which was second in the qualifying race at Silverstone and did run well in the main race until a penalty for track limits dropped him down the order. So Cedric Lima has not had a win this season, although in this championship he's had 2 career wins, having come out of the Lamborghini Super Trofeo many seasons back. There is 72, the pole man, which is Anthony Pons, experienced sports car racer, and comes here as the championship leader, not really by racking up win after win, but some of the opposition only doing selected races anyway. He's doing the whole season, so he's consistently banking the points, and it's playing into the hands of Anthony Pons. So the car just being pushed back into place. It's a rolling start, of course, as befits a good GT race. So the next time the cars leave the line, it will be behind the leading car, ready for the rolling start. Race director Alain Ardon will give the signal, and then the cars will be released. There is Karim Auger, another vast experienced driver. Karim, he's another to have raced at Le Mans, of course. He's raced in the European Le Mans Series, the Intercontinental Le Mans Cup, came out of former Palmer Audi. There is 89 Daniele Perfetti in the ACA ASP Mercedes. The last time we saw that last night, it was on 3 wheels, and the team was very concerned to get the car back before the race ended, so they could work on it for today's race. It had all sorts of dramas with transmission and clutch, as well as the wheel parting company. But Daniele Perfetti, double winner here last year in the equivalent races, could well be hard to stop if the car is okay, as he tries to carve his way through from 6th on the grid. There is a gap behind Christoph Ulrich, so Michał Bronizeski is missing. Michał Bronizeski, who should have been in a Ferrari 488 GTE, and the car is in the paddock, and it did run in qualifying, so quite why it's not taking part in this race, don't know, unless the intention was never to race and only to do a bit more track time through qualifying. But it's a rather expensive way of gaining an extra 20 minutes there. And the other car that was expected to be missing, 63, Nico van Dierendonk's Ombra Racing Lamborghini, and that also is missing, correct. The big gap you see up against the pit wall are effectively rows 6 and 7, a car from each row missing. So you've got Bronizeski and Van Dierendonk absent. 87 is in the hands of Maurice Ricci, former International GT Open driver, and sorry, Mauro Ricci is good to go in the ACA ASP Mercedes. Many of the teams that run in this championship also run in the Blancpain GT Series. It means you're very busy over a race weekend, but of course it also means that you've got the cars here, the personnel here, and you can run 2 programs at the same event rather than having to go to even more race meetings. So in that respect, it's a very good idea to combine these, and although it makes for a busy weekend for the engineers, it's a bit more cost effective. Luigi Lucchini could be one to watch in this race, former Italian GT racer, FIA GT racer many moons ago, and Luigi Lucchini lining up 9th on the grid in the BMS Scuderia Italia entered car, famous name that's had a spell in Formula 1, of course, running the Lara engineered cars. But there you've got Luigi Lucchini, and he could be, as I say, one to watch, starting on the 5th row of the grid. But the likes of ACA ASP, AF Corsa, Boutsen-Gignon, and Kessel Racing, HTP Motorsport, all with cars on the grid. Let's have a walk up it then. It's Anthony Pons on pole in the Mercedes, Claude-Yves Gosselin lining up alongside in the Lamborghini. Row 2 is Patrick van Glebeke's Ferrari, 963 is Cedric Lima, ahead of the BMW number 2 of Karim Auger, 5th in the championship, Daniele Perfetti, 4th in the championship, lining up alongside him. Then on the 4th row, the Ferrari is that of Alex Demergian, Mauro Ricci lining up alongside. Luigi Lucchini's Ferrari will be next, and Christoph Ulrich in the Dayglow Ferrari up against the pit wall is for company. Then it's Coach McKenzie, but the gap where Michał Bronizeski should have been. Then you go back to Daniel Voigt, and a gap Nico van Dierendonk missing until you get to Klaus-Dieter Freyrs and Alexis de Bernardi. The next row is Steve Earle lining up alongside Willem Paulus de Pundet. Christian Hook and Marco Galassi are next on the grid, ahead of Frederic Jean-Marie Fangio and Pierre Veligioni, with the back of the grid being Louis-Philippe Cernan and the Mercedes of Roberto Ranieri. That is the grid. So 2 gaps are frustrating because both Bronizeski and Van Dierendonk are quick drivers. Cars now released to the green flag lap. So 25 minutes this race, and one car, the Mercedes of Willem Paulus de Pundet does not get away. So that car, if it does get going, will have to start at the back rather than, where was it, 18th on the grid. It gets going now, but everybody has gone past. In theory, de Pundet should now start from the rear of the grid because everybody has gone past him. If he overtakes to get his grid slot back, he potentially will find himself in hot water with the officials. So let's just have another look at the way the grid will line up for this race. From the rolling start, Anthony Pons and Claude Gosselin at the front. It's Mercedes of the championship leader and Lamborghini alongside, ahead of Patrick Van Glebacker and then Cedric Lima. Again, Ferrari and Lamborghini. BMW and Mercedes, row 3, Karim Ogier and Daniele Perfetti. Then it's Ferrari and Mercedes, Alex de Mergian and Mauro Ricci. The 5th row is where you find 2 Ferraris, 458s here, of Luigi Lucchini and Christoph Ulrich, who had that spin to the grid. Coach McKenzie's Lamborghini should have been alongside Michael Bronizeski, missing with the Ferrari 488 GTE. Daniel Voigt is on the 7th row, but Nico van Dierendonck is absent. Then you've got Klaus-Dieter Freres heading the Iron Cup alongside Alexis de Bernardis Ferrari 458. Steve Earle and Willem Paulus de Pundet qualified next, both Iron Cup drivers ahead of Christian Hook and then Marco Galassi in the team Malucelli Ferrari ahead of Frederic Jean-Marie Fangio, who was warned about track limits yesterday, and Pierre Feligioni alongside him. The back row being Louis-Philippe Cernan and Roberto Raineri in the Mercedes. His Mercedes being the older SLS AMG GT3. Alex de Mergian there, man to watch, and has de Pundet made back his grid slot, just looking into the distance, or is he staying at the back? He's made up his grid position, hasn't he? You can see the black and blue Mercedes. So de Pundet may find himself in hot water for doing that. So we'll wait and see whether a penalty comes, because in theory that'll be an out-of-position start. There is 66, Roberto Raineri at the back of the grid, 25 minutes, with a lap of, from qualifying pace, 2 minutes 8. So what are they going to get? 11, 12 laps potentially. Flag goes out the first time the leader crosses the line once those 25 minutes are up. And Anthony Pons then, the French driver in the ASP entered Mercedes, leads the field around. They will then get themselves into the 2x2 side-by-side formation, ready for the start shortly. And then we will be good to go racing. And it's been a real variety of winners this year. As I say, Anthony Pons won the qualifying race, the equivalent race at Misano. Daniele Perfetti won the main race. At Silverstone, it was John Minshaw doing a bit of sneaky practice for British GT's 3R Enduro there, who rocked up and won both races. First British winner we'd had out of the Blancpain GT Sports Club. It's a shame he's not doing more races in the championship, but he certainly showed his pace that weekend, did John Minshaw. And so now we come to Paul Ricard. Can we have another different winner? Well, Anthony Pons, he's going to take some stopping from the front of the grid. Daniele Perfetti, certainly one to watch from the 3rd row. The feeling was that he wasn't stressing the car too much yesterday, saving it for the 6-hour Blancpain race last night. Let's see how he gets on then. The confectionery magnate in number 89, Daniele Perfetti, former British GT champion. And the car's now about to make their way up towards the timing line. The qualifying race then for the Blancpain GT Sports Club about to get underway. It's a tidy start as they come through the Virage du Pont. The pace car, as it is, heads for the pit lane, and they slowly work their way up towards the lights. On his toes from the 2nd row, Cedric Lima, who gets up alongside Claude Gosselin as we go racing. Anthony Pons has the advantage on the way down towards Verrières for the first time. A good getaway by Lima, maybe a bit too good, but he's on the inside line, challenging for the race lead as they dive down towards turn 1. Do they all get through safely? So far, so good. Coach McKenzie, the pseudonymed German driver, on the inside line, coming under attack. But as they accelerate off towards the chicane for the first time in this 25-minute race, the poleman, Anthony Pons in the Mercedes, has got the advantage. Cedric Lima from 4th on the grid goes 2nd. It's Patrick Van Glebacker running 3rd. So the one that's really dropped back is Claude Gosselin there, going through, almost heading the 2nd group in the Lamborghini, really sluggish off the line. And at the back of the field, Roberto Raineri looking for a way past Louis-Philippe Cernan, the Mercedes on the back of the Ferrari, which in turn is looking for a way past Frederic Fangio's Ferrari. Now they turn their way through Saint-Beau and up towards L'École, and then onto the Mistral Straight. Interrupted for the AM drivers in the GT Sports Club, because you've got the chicane, the very long chicane, if you like, that will turn you through turns 8 and 9. And there, Alex de Mergian makes a move in the Ferrari up the inside, brakes late, he's all over the curb, and there's contact into the side of Van Glebacker. He goes, breaks the suspension on Van Glebacker's car. He is out on the spot. We had a very similar accident here last year at the chicane, with one being harpooned by another, and it's happened again. And Alex de Mergian with a case to answer there, because he went careering up the inside. He was never going to slow down. For somebody that was given a penalty yesterday for causing a collision at that part of the circuit, you may have thought the message would have got through, but I'm afraid to say that Patrick van Glebeke, completely innocent in all of that, is out of the race, and that car stricken at the chicane. De Mergian, you can anticipate, will have to go and visit the officials after the race, and van Glebeke limps back, but broken suspension. The best he can do is get a spin in the background. That's Coach McKenzie who's gone around. People scatter in avoidance. The best that van Glebeke can hope is that they can repair that car for the second race, but it was a big impact. And there is number 22, Alex de Mergian, now with a flapping door as a legacy of the contact. So it may be that the officials want him in to tape up the door, irrespective of the fact that he's been involved in an accident. Over the timing line, Anthony Pons keeping out of trouble. He leads the way. They come past the pits then at the end of lap 1. It is Mercedes leading Lamborghini, 11 tenths between them. Third is the slightly aggressive Alex de Mergian. In 4th place, you've got Daniele Perfetti then. In 5th spot is Claude-Yves Gosselin. 6th is Mauro Ricci there in the Mercedes. 7th, it is now Luigi Lucchini. Christoph Ulrich is 8th. Karim Auger 9th. And Daniel Vogt, the Liechtenstein driver, is 10th in his Lamborghini. Race leaders then through for the second time. Now here's the move from the trackside camera. You look at Alex de Mergian. So he made the move against Daniele Perfetti, brakes so late, tried to steer into the corner, and Patrick van Glebeke was turning in. And there, I mean, de Mergian is never going to get through the chicane. He's off the road as he hits van Glebeke, so far too fast in, and van Glebeke, completely innocent, ends up with a big knock, and he's out of the race. And Coach McKenzie, who we'd seen spinning, is also heading down the pit lane with what looks like some damage. So it's been a fairly destructive first lap. Is that a puncture? Coach McKenzie, we'd seen spin, but was he tapped into it and got a puncture, or did the tyre go down and that caused a spin? The team ready to receive him, and it's a left rear tyre that's being changed as now they work their way to the chicane for the second time. Christoph Ulrich there, number 51, staying ahead of Karim Auger. Race leaders then blasting their way now up towards Signe. Through the fast right-hander they go. And did Patrick van Glebeke get back to the pit lane? Not yet, as off the road now goes Cedric Lima from second place, way outside the track limits at Signe, and the Lamborghini has had a big spin. He will rejoin, there's no damage, but he's going to be a long way down the order. So Anthony Pons builds the lead as now Karim Auger goes diving up on the inside to get himself ahead of Christoph Ulrich in the Ferrari. He goes through. He'd already gained 1 place at the expense of the rotating Lima. There's now a drive-through penalty being offered to Willem de Paulis for a start procedure infringement. In other words, because he started from his grid position rather than at the back as he should have done, he now gets this drive-through penalty. So lots of people getting themselves in the wars. Out of the race, Patrick van Glebeke, who has tried but failed to drag the car back with that broken suspension. The race leader, Anthony Pons, then, is away and gone up front. In second place now is Alex de Mergian. We've not been told that he's under investigation, but I would imagine he will be. In third place, you've got Daniele Perfetti closing up a little bit onto the back of the Ferrari, but Pons is already 4 seconds to the good. In fourth place is Mauro Ricci. Fifth now is Gosselin. Sixth there is Lucchini. Seventh is Auger. Eighth is Ulrich. Ninth is Vogt. And in 10th place, it is Alexis de Bernardi. So 11th, after his spin, is Cedric Lima. And heading the Iron Cup at the moment is in 12th place, Klaus-Dieter Frers. This is the fight for second with the air-conditioned Ferrari with the flapping door. Alex de Mergian under attack from Daniele Perfetti. Of course, his overtaking opportunities are a bit limited because if the door suddenly opens in your face, you've got to back out, haven't you? So, Alex de Mergian, in 2 senses here, he's trying to close the door. In other words, keep Daniele Perfetti at bay, but also keep the offending door shut. There's no way he can reach across, so what he's got to try and hope for is that the thing either closes itself, or the officials, if they ask him to come in, they can quickly get some sticky tape on it and send him back into the race. But as yet, he's not being asked to pit. He carries on, but sooner or later, I fear the scrutineers are going to take a dim view of this rather cheap air conditioning system that his Ferrari has got. The Lebanese driver then keeping Daniele Perfetti at bay. He's been in a variety of championships over the years, Daniele. He was British GT champion with Michael Caine for David Bartram's Motorbase team a few years back. He's raced in Clios, he's raced in Carrera Cup GB, Blancpain, assorted GT categories, you name it. Almost every year he tries something different, as Daniele Perfetti. He's a great enthusiast. His brothers race, his father races. They're going through. His 963 Cedric Lima trying to fight back, of course, after his huge spin here at Signe a lap ago. Claude-Yves Gosselin has got his teammate Karim Auger up behind him now. The two Butson-Gignon cars together. The Lamborghini, after that really sluggish start, is in 5th spot, but Auger's made good progress here. He's up the order. In fact, to tell you a lie, down a place has gone Gosselin, because look, Luigi Lucchini has gone past him in the Ferrari. So Gosselin down to 6th. There's Alex Demergian versus Daniele Perfetti. And now the meatball flag is being offered. The black and orange mechanical warning flag is being shown to number 22, Alex Demergian. So, as rather feared, the scrutineers want the car in. The so-called meatball flag, the orange circle on a black flag, means there is a problem with your car you may not be aware of. Come in and have it sorted out. It should be a quick fix, lots of sticky tape, get the car back in the race, but of course what that does is really ruin your chances of a good result, because you waste that time by pitting, and in a short race like this it's really game over. So Demergian will have to pit, and he will have to get that door sorted out, and that therefore will give Daniele Perfetti a clean run at Anthony Pons, his teammate. So we could be on for an ASP 1-2 here, but the trouble is that while Perfetti is stuck, the gap is widening to the race leader. Here is another look at the move. There's just no way Demergian is going to make the corner. Look, the line was going to take him off the road anyway. He hits Van Gleber, who's completely innocent, on the way into the corner. He doesn't make the chicane anyway. Look, he's all across the runoff. So Alex Demergian, with a meatball flag for the flapping door, certainly has a case to answer for that accident, I'm afraid to say. And the AF Corsa team, which has run a whole fleet of Ferraris weekend long, back on its toes. The mechanics have got another one to repair. Up front, Pons is getting away still. The flapping door is not really harming Demergian, because he's done a personal best in the first sector. Pons has done the fastest lap of the race. He goes past the stricken car of Patrick Van Gleber, who I think will want a word with him after the race as well. There is Karim Auger ahead now of Gosselin. Ulrich is ahead of Cedric Lima. Out of the chicane they come, and Cedric Lima in the Lamborghini tries to make the move here up towards Senior. Through there goes Perfetti. Then you've got Ricci, and there the fight for second and third places. So Daniele Perfetti still stuck, isn't he, behind Alex Demergian? And now the incident between Demergian and Van Gleber is under investigation. As Perfetti makes the move, he was given an awful lot of track space there. So Alex Demergian, perhaps knowing that he's got to come into the pit lane and have that problem sorted, has stopped fighting and lets the Mercedes go through very easily. And it's almost like this is going to be a withdrawal from the race, because Demergian has suddenly lost a whole heap of pace by the look of it. Okay, if you are pitting, there's no point perhaps in fighting until the very end, because you know you're going to lose the place anyway, but he just seems to have really backed off, Alex Demergian. There he is coming in, so hopefully he's going to rejoin and not just give up on this race. As I say, he's under investigation now anyway for the accident with Van Gleber. And as the race leaders work their way over the timing line, it is now 6.8 seconds between the top two. So there is Alex Demergian. The AF Corsa team going to have a look at the door and say that's it. So maybe if that had been communicated on the radio to say there's nothing we can do about it, that was another reason why he'd back right off. But yes, that rather, from the semaphore, looks as though it's game over. We can't do anything about that. The SRO technical team in the background, you see, having a look at it, and indeed Alex Demergian is a retirement. Out he gets. So he'll be at the back of the grid anyway for the second race. And there, with a bit of a marker cone stuck under the front, proof that he's been off the road, Cedric Lima. Now he's got himself up past Ulrich, so he's now 7th, Cedric Lima. Ulrich in the Ferrari tries to fight back as they work their way now onto the Mistral straight. Lima goes wide, kicks up the dust a little bit, and gets rid of the cone as well. That self-destructs from underneath the car. 15 minutes of the race remain as they blast their way on towards the chicane now. Into the braking area. Up the inside goes Lima. Ulrich rather terrorised out of the way. Off the road goes Lima. He'll get back onto the road, but under attack, because right there with him in number 65, Alexis de Bernardi accelerates now onto the Mistral. So yet again, that heavy braking zone for the chicane catching out people. Thankfully, no contact that time, and Cedric Lima continues to push and push and push to get back up the order after his earlier spin. Anthony Pons leading the way, but now that Daniele Perfetti has been released, he's taken 7/10 out of that lead in one sector alone. Can Perfetti get there in time? 14 minutes to go. Coach McKenzie, by the way, remember he pitted on the first lap for a new tyre. He is back running, but a long way adrift in 21st place. That'll become 20th now with the demise of Demergian. And we've got people being warned about track limits as well. They are Christian Hook and Willem Paulus de Pundet, who are in the battle for 15th and 16th places respectively. And I don't think de Pundet has yet made his drive-through, has he? For the out-of-position start. So there is the the second place car. The gap 6 seconds now, and it's an ACA ASP 123 with Mauro Ricci up into third place. So 6 seconds between the top two, 5.5 give or take between second and third. In fourth place, it is Luigi Lucchini in the best of the Ferraris, ahead of the BMW of Carrie Moget and then the Lamborghini of Claude-Yves Gosselin, showing the variety that we have in the Blancpain GT Sports Club. And the team manager, oops, off the road almost there, goes one of the slower Ferraris. I was about to say that the team manager and the driver of car 22, in other words Demergian and the representative of AF Corsa, have to go to the stewards after the race. You know what that's going to be about. So Demergian's day gets no better. Cedric Lima has a look to the inside of Claude-Yves Gosselin, can't do it. This is the fight for 6th place now, Gosselin versus Lima, and right with them Alexis de Bernardi in the very attractively painted Ferrari number 65, that another of the Kessel fleet here this weekend. Alexis de Bernardi now onto the Mistral, and we've lost number 52, which is Frédéric Fangio. He's out of the car. Is that mechanical or is that a spin? I fear it's mechanical, so Frédéric Fangio walks away. That's the end of his race. Former Ferrari Challenge racer as Lima makes his move up on the inside line down to the chicane. He's going to go ahead of Gosselin, and de Bernardi, the great opportunist, goes through as well. Fantastic move. The door was open, he took full advantage of it, and so Claude-Yves Gosselin loses 2 places. Cedric Lima on a mission, but Alexis de Bernardi is hustling on as well in his Ferrari as the cars turn their way up now through Signe. There is line 6-3 then, so Cedric Lima accelerates on towards the right-hander of Beausset, fending off Alexis de Bernardi, who gets faster and faster, it seems, as the race wears on. Claude-Yves Gosselin from the front row, dropping into the clutches of Christoph Ulrich, who had that spin on his way to the grid. And we've had half the race, and it's been a very lively race. Not for Anthony Pons, though, because he's been rather dominant, but all sorts of things happening behind him. Here's the move from Lima, but the one to watch in a sense is Alexis de Bernardi in the Ferrari. The gap is on the inside. Lima breaks late, gets the job done absolutely right, but de Bernardi thinks, well, I'm quick enough, I can go through as well. And Claude-Yves Gosselin had to give way. Alexis de Bernardi goes through, and a good, brave pass that was. Anthony Pons leading, but the gap is coming down. Daniele Perfetti has brought it down by 1.5 seconds in 2 laps. He's got now, what, 5 seconds still to make up, but he's pushing very hard indeed, and it's looking pretty good, this, for Daniele Perfetti. Anthony Pons, having won the qualifying race at Misano, leading the way. It's a shame that Michael Bronizeski did not start, because it would have been fascinating to have included him in that mix, and also it's a shame that we lost Patrick Van Glabberkert so early, and hopefully his car is going to be okay for the second race, but of course it was taken out by its teammate, because both AF Corsa drivers are Demergian and Van Glabberkert. That might make for a rather quiet table at lunch, I fear. Along the Mistral straight comes Anthony Pons, and again Daniele Perfetti is really hacking into that margin. He's taken 8/10 out in the first sector alone, so we should get the 2 of them together before the end of the race here. Willem de Pundert has just made his drive-through penalty for his false start, so that's out of the way, as back onto the Mistral come the leading Mercedes. So have a look in second place in the now familiar ACA livery of red, white and black. Daniele Perfetti pushing on. He's done the fastest lap of the race. He is closing on the race-leading car. He works his way now up through Signe in the second sector. Surprisingly, he didn't gain anything at all after a really good first sector. In third place, it is Mauro Ricci. And then in fourth spot, you've got Luigi Lucchini. Cedric Lima has just done the best middle sector, but I think that might have been helped by a rather wayward line through the chicane. So there is Lima, who had that enormous spin early on in the race, didn't he? He's trying to fight back, and he's currently in 6th place. Another experienced driver, Cedric Lima, working his way through that long, long right of Beausset, now towards Bendor. Just under 10 minutes of the race to go, and Daniele Perfetti still pushing. Now, this will explain Lima's very fast lap, yes, because he made a complete Horlicks at the chicane, like he didn't really bother with it. He kind of turned into it and realised he was never going to make it, so that's why he's done the best middle sector of anybody, because his middle sector was completely different from anybody else's. It didn't really include the chicane, so that saved him about 1 second. The leaders go through. The gap is 4.5, so it's going in the right direction, this for Daniele Perfetti, but will he get there in time? He should do. Down towards turn 1 goes this fight between Luigi Lucchini and Carrie Moget for 4th place. Now, Auger's last lap was a 2:11.7. In other words, he's closing on Lucchini. That should be a change by the end for 4th place if Carrie Moget is really bold enough and can find the room for the big BMW to dive up the inside. Down towards the chicane they come. Luigi Lucchini hanging onto the place for the moment in the BMS Scuderia Italia entry. Former Italian GT racer, former Road to Le Mans Cup driver. Hangs onto that spot with Karim Auger, another very experienced pedaler behind him. So with the demise of Van Glebeke and De Mergien and Fangio, that puts now Coach McKenzie up into 19th place after his enforced pit stop for the punctured tyre. As for the race leaders, another 4/10 pull back in the first sector by Daniele Perfetti, but Anthony Pons driving ever so smoothly, making sure that he's not making any mistakes, looking after the machinery, hoping to be able to maintain this advantage to the end. As almost a bit deep into the chicane there, Luigi Lucchini hard on the brakes. Goes in a little deep, as I say. Alexis de Bernardi pushing on to get away from Cody Gosselin now. 7th, 8th they are. 9th there, the Ferrari in the background, Christoph Ulrich. Christoph Ulrich moving from the 24-hour series into Blancpain GT Sports Club this season. Lima goes through with his experience of Lamborghini Trofeo of years past. Alexis de Bernardi next in the queue, a graduate of the Ferrari Challenge. And Lucchini goes wide. Karim Auger tries to get the BMW up on the inside, can't do it. So Lucchini just scrabbles out of the corner ahead. This is the fight, remember, going on for 4th place. And Karim Auger, a bit like at Silverstone actually, getting better and better as the race wears on, is certainly giving a tough time to Luigi Lucchini now. The Ferrari seems to be good through the corners, but in a straight line the BMW might have a bit more grunt. Let's see as they come over the timing line whether that's going to be the way. And 963 Cedric Lima being told he must give back 1 position. So is that for cutting the chicane? I don't think he actually gained a place by doing that, but he's being told he must give back 1 position. The race director has made that call, and so Cedric Lima currently running 6th. He's a long way ahead of Alexis de Bernardi, like 4 seconds, so it's going to be a big penalty that for him. Anyway, that's what's being required on the timing screen. 89 Daniele Perfetti, 4.3 seconds back. Only gained 2/10 on that last lap. So on some laps he's really been good, other laps have been a bit more difficult for him. 89 then, pushing. Daniele Perfetti blasts his way onto the Mistral straight, and the bearded Swiss driver pushing on in pursuit of Anthony Pons. The Frenchman leading the way. At the end of sector 1, the gap is down by 4/10. That seems to be where Perfetti is stronger, actually. That first third of the lap into the chicane, smoothly turns Pons, 6.5 minutes and counting. We've done 8 laps. Great noise that the Mercedes make as they growl their way out of the chicane, up through the gears, all of that torque dragging the cars, front-engine cars, down towards Senior through that fast right-hander. Of course, with the chicane put in, your speed at the corner far less than it would be with the uninterrupted version of the Mistral Straight that we were enjoying last night in the 6-hour Blancpain GT Series race. There in 3rd place, rather in no man's land, is Mauro Ricci. He's not catching nor is he being caught. Gosselin fending off Ulrich. But has Cedric Lima given a place back to Alexis de Bernardi? Not yet, I don't think. Still slightly puzzled as to why he has to give that spot back, but we'll try and find a replay of it perhaps and explain it away. There is 89 Perfetti, who in the middle sector brought another 4/10 out of Pons' advantage, so this could be a very good lap. 4.3 the margin anyway. Has Pons done enough? Has he got anything in reserve either? So if Perfetti did arrive right on the tail, could he up his pace? Could he sprint away again? They're the 2 Mercedes together, and if Perfetti wasn't being spurred on before, he will be now, because he can see the car he's chasing, and the gap is now 3.6 seconds as Perfetti sets another best lap of the race. It is game on with 5 laps to go. 5 minutes to go rather, and that is going to be possibly 3 laps and a spin for Lucchini out of 4th place. So Luigi Lucchini has gone around, coming out of Tours. He will rejoin, but that's going to cost him dear, I'm afraid, because the pack behind was quite tightly bunched. So it means that Karim Auger goes 4th, Cedric Lima goes 5th, Pro Tem. 6th is going to be Alexis de Bernardi. Gosselin will be up to 7th, 8th is Ulrich, 9th is Voigt, 10th is Klaus-Dieter Frères heading the Iron Cup, and 11th is Steve Earle, and so 12th will be Luigi Lucchini after that spin. Now, not only is Cedric Lima being given this warning about giving a place back, we've just briefly had a line on the timing screen saying his start is under investigation. I think I said at the time it was a very keen start, and that's being looked at as well, as there is contact. Oh, Cedric Lima versus Luigi Lucchini. Oh dear, Lima getting attention again for the wrong reasons. So he's been told to give back 1 place. The start's under investigation, and now he gets involved with Luigi Lucchini. Stewards are going to be busy, aren't they? 4 minutes to go now. So the race leader currently 3.6 seconds ahead. Perfetti off the road, runs wide at Beausset, back on again, but a gap that was 3.6 seconds had come down in Sector 1, it had come down in Sector 2. It may go up again because of that little mistake being made. There's no argument in as much as Daniele Perfetti is pushing. They're going to get 2 more laps out of it, aren't they? There'll be time for the one they will start and one more at the end of that. There's the gap. You can see it's less than ever now between the 2 teammates. The incident between Lima and Lucchini is being investigated as well. And there, Daniele Perfetti accelerates out of the very tight right at Virage Dupont. Goes over the timing line past the pits, and the gap was 3.6. The gap is 2.5 seconds. Here is the replay of Perfetti going very, very wide at Senior. He avoids the track marker bollards there on the outside, but then he carries all of that speed into Beausset, runs out of road, doesn't fight the car, lifts, lets it flow, takes the line, back on the power once he's back on the tarmac. So 2.5 seconds and just about 2.5 minutes, give or take, between now and the end of the race. There is a charging Daniele Perfetti. Let's see whether the gap is down any further in the first sector. Anthony Pons perhaps now feeling a little bit more under threat. His mirrors are starting to become ever fuller of his teammate behind. Daniele Perfetti pushing on. Very disappointed to retire from yesterday's endurance race. And 4/10 the margin down again in that first sector. So 4/10 pulled back within the first third of the lap alone as they now come onto the Mistral straight. There is the recovering Luigi Lucchini. Klaus-Dieter Frers and Steve Earle ahead, battling for Iron Cup honours. Remember that the grid for the main race is based on the results of its qualifying race, but I fear there might be some grid drop penalties to be factored in, so it could be a rather different way they cross the line compared to the final grid for the main race. The fleet of Ferraris turns through, including there, look, number 60, which is the Marco Galassi car. Out of L'École they will turn onto the Mistral straight. One more lap to run at the end of this for the race leaders. The Ferrari fight rages on as the fans here bright and early enjoying the sunshine. See the cars on the Mistral straight now. It's a very spectacular setting, the area in which Paul Ricard is at in Le Castellet. Challenge on the inside there, down towards the chicane. Doesn't quite pay out for Luigi Lucchini. He tried to make that move against Steve Earle, thought better of it, slots back in behind. And by having to defend here, Steve Earle losing touch with Klaus-Dieter Frers, who could be on for a second win of the year in the Blancpain GT Sports Club. Klaus-Dieter Frers won the Iron Cup for the over 60s in the qualifying race at Misano. He's on for another here, isn't he, seemingly? There, number 60 goes through Marco Galassi. Right, we've got effectively a lap to go. The lead through is now 1.9 seconds, the margin. That, I think, is just enough. The last lap that Perfetti did was another fastest lap of the race, 2 minutes 9.2, another 6/10 pull back, but he is too far back. Cedric Lima, no further action for the start, interestingly, but the team manager and the driver have to go to the stewards immediately after the race. He's not given back his position, and he's been involved in that incident with Luigi Lucchini as well. So Cedric Lima might be a bit grumpy post-race. Not as grumpy as Patrick van Glebacker, however, who was annihilated on the opening lap. Race leaders go through then. Lap 12, we start, final lap of the race, and in strife there, look, a spin for Pierre Feligioni. He's spun at the chicane in the Lamborghini. That brings out a yellow flag, and the race leaders are bearing down. Flash of the lights from Daniele Perfetti. He is closing on Anthony Pons, but they're going to have to slow for the yellow as Feligioni gets out of the way. The gap has come right down, hasn't it, though? Another 4/10 pull back in that first sector. Feligioni has lots of real estate to sort out his three-point turn and rejoin, but the two Mercedes with half a lap to go pound on. Out of the chicane goes Perfetti past Van Glebacker's damaged car and up towards Senior with 3/10 pull back in that middle sector. So it's 3 plus 4/10, 7/10. It's going to be over a second, the margin. Still too much unless Pons has a problem. Into Beausset for the last time. Daniele Perfetti, arguably, if he hadn't been stuck behind the traffic for as long as he was, in other words, Demergian, he might have been able to do more about the race leader, but he couldn't get past the Ferrari. It was really only Demergian's enforced trip to the pits that gave him the free ride, and then he could set off in pursuit of Anthony Pons, but the BOP working to equate the cars so well, it was hard to get past, and Anthony Pons has done enough. Despite the fact his margin has been slashed before the end of the race, he will still come through to be a race winner. One corner to go, checkered flag at the ready, and it's going to be a second race win of the year, a second qualifying race win of the year as well for Anthony Pons. The championship leader wins in the Blancpain GT Sports Club qualifying race here at Paul Ricard. Daniele Perfetti second. The gap at the end just 1.3 seconds, and it started at what, over 6 before Perfetti mounted the charge. And for third place, it is going to be Mauro Ricci for his best finish of the season. First time he would have been on the podium. But Daniele Perfetti taking second and Anthony Pons the race win. The traffic comes through behind with Karim Auger set for fourth place. There is 51 Christoph Ulrich, who's going to be 8th as he comes up towards the timing line. And we've got the Iron Cup still to be resolved as well, but I think Klaus-Dieter Frers with a 3-second advantage will be safe and sound there over Steve Earle, the American orthopedic surgeon, as the Ferraris bounce over the curbs. Coming out of the Virage Dupont over the line, we have for 10th the Iron Cup winner Klaus-Dieter Frers ahead of Steve Earle. That gap was 3 seconds. It came down to 1.2 at the end, so a really good last lap from Steve Earle. Great enthusiast. We've seen him racing not just in Ferrari Challenge, but in Blancpain Endurance, Blancpain Sprint. He took part in at Zolder this year because he'd never raced there and just felt like he ought to go, and had a great time as well, enjoying his racing. But Anthony Pons will have enjoyed the qualifying race because it gives him a win. It gives him 8 points in the championship to extend his advantage, and of course it gives him pole position for the main race. Daniele Perfetti and Mauro Ricci making it a 1-2-3 for the ACA ASP team. ASP is the Autosport Promotion element, Jerome Policon's team. ACA is Jean-Luc Bobelic's company, which has this financial stake in it. And Jean-Luc himself racing last night, getting a podium finish in the Pro-Am part of the Blancpain GT Series. So the marshals wave the flags. Karim Auger responds with a flash of the lights. Karim taking fourth place, the Saudi driver. But Anthony Pons winning on home soil, the French driver winning here at Paul Ricard. He'll make his way shortly round to the podium. We might have a chance to hear from our winning driver, perhaps, with a margin of 1.3 seconds. Perfetti to Ricci, second to third, incidentally, 21. It's a huge gap between second and third places. But in a sense, Daniele Perfetti, a bit like Anthony Pons and a bit like Michael Bronizeski, who we didn't actually see in the end, is a kind of AM plus, because they are very experienced. And yes, okay, they are in a championship aimed at the gentleman racer, but they've got so much experience. They're definitely a cut above those that have come from club racing into this. But they are equally very useful benchmarks for the other drivers to race against. So down the pit lane, this Blancpain GT weekend here at Paul Ricard. We've also Lamborghini Super Trofeo activity today, and the Ultracar GT1 Sports Club as well. So a real treat for fans of GT cars of current age, but also of seasons past. We've got some glorious GT1 machinery, Maserati MC12s, Ferrari 550s, 575s, for example. And this weekend, marking 25 years since Stefan Rattel organised his first race, not then for SRO, that was yet to be created, but he was then working for Venturi and organised a support race at the Le Mans 24 Hours. But SRO has grown and grown to be the architect of global GT racing's success, and of course another of its success stories has been this, the Blancpain GT Sports Club, and Anthony Pons finding a happy home in the championship this year, taking a second race win of the season. So he will clamber out in a moment. He will be joined on the podium by Daniele Perfetti and Mauro Ricci. The Iron Cup, Klaus-Dieter Frers, Steve Earle, and then Louis-Philippe Cernan will be for third place. There is Daniele Perfetti. Close, another lap, maybe. But a 1-2-3 as he sights for the ACA ASP team. There is Anthony Pons, clambers out of the car, thumbs up to the team, and the French driver congratulates Daniele Perfetti, who had to charge his way through from the third row of the grid. And shortly they will head to the podium. Crash helmets off, Pirelli caps on, of course Pirelli providing all the rubber, and in the background in a moment you'll get the top three from the Iron Cup. Klaus-Dieter Frers by just over a second, winning from Steve Earle. And then for third place in the back row, Louis-Philippe Cernan. So as the drivers take off the crash helmets, get some fresh air. Even 25 minutes in one of these cars is pretty hot. Pity the people that were doing 2-hour stints last night and yesterday evening when the main GT endurance race got underway. Very, very hard work. There is Mauro Ricci out of his Mercedes, former International GT Open Series racer. And for Anthony Pons, second win of the year, second career win. This is first year in the championship, and our reporter Dakota Jane has found our winner, Anthony Pons.
Anthony, well done. Congratulations. Another sweet victory for you.
Yeah, it was a tough race, especially because of my teammate pushing me again, like in Misano. So I know he's very fast. So I had to watch a little bit my mirrors all the time, and he was coming back very, very strong. So, but finally, I made no mistake, and I'm at the first place, so it's good.
He might be coming after you later.
Yeah, I think he will make my way very difficult this afternoon. So I know it. He's a very fast driver, so a lot of experience. He makes no mistakes, so it's going to be very tough for me this afternoon. I know
Well, good luck. Thank you.
Thank you.
So Anthony Pons knows he's in for a fight because it will be him and Daniele Perfetti on the front row. There's Jérôme Policon from the team saying well done. And a 1-2-3 for the ACA ASP squad. Anthony Pons wins the qualifying race in the Blancpain GT Sports Club from Daniele Perfetti and Mauro Ricci. Karim Auger 4th ahead of Cedric Lima, and then Alexis de Bernardi 6th. Claude-Yves Gosselin 7th from the front row. Christophe Ulrich 8th ahead of Daniel Voigt. Then 10th, the Iron Cup winner Klaus-Dieter Freres from Steve Earle, and after a spin, Luigi Lucchini. 13th going the way of Marco Galassi from Christian Hook, then Louis-Philippe Cernan, the third Iron Cup driver, home ahead of Willem de Pundet, with Roberto Raineri and Coach McKenzie. 17th and 18th, Pierre Feligioni, 19th after his spin. The retirements being Fangio, Van Glebacker and de Mergian. Let's have a quick look at the highlights of the qualifying race. Anthony Pons making a good start. Cedric Lima a bit keen on his toes, but the start deemed to be okay. So no penalty for that, but it was a big spin early in the race that dropped Lima out of contention. But that was after we'd had this incident down at the chicane. Daniele Perfetti lost a place, but then gained it back as into the side of Patrick Van Glebacker cannoned Alex de Mergian. In the end, it was damage to the Ferrari that brought that into the pit lane and retirement as Coach McKenzie went around, punctured tyre, meaning that he had an enforced pit stop. That was the Lima spin as he went way, way off the road at Senior, came in too fast, had a big, big rotation, rejoined, got himself 5th, but he's got a trip to the stewards yet to serve. So Alex de Mergian was up to 2nd after all of that. Then he had Daniele Perfetti bearing down on him. They ran nose to tail for a number of laps, but the flapping door with the broken catch and the broken latch became too much for the race officials, and in the end they needed the car in. The damage was too great for a quick fix, and so out of the race, Alex de Mergian. Cedric Lima, complete with traffic cones stuck under the front, got himself back past Christophe Ulrich and continued to push his way up the order. Lima made this good move up the inside of Gosselin, and Alexis de Bernardi in the Ferrari followed through. That was a real opportunistic dive. No contact, good clean racing, and it moved the Lamborghini and the Ferrari up a place. But then Lima got involved with Luigi Lucchini. Contact between the two, the Ferrari spun, and Lucchini in the end down in 12th place. So all eyes were on the lead battle, where Anthony Pons was coming under attack from Daniele Perfetti. The gap was coming down and down and down. And even late race, where they had to dodge a spinning Pierre Feligioni, Perfetti was still not to be denied the chance. He was pushing all the way. He did repeated fastest laps, but in the end, he missed out by 1.3 seconds as Anthony Pons came through for a second race win of the season. The championship leader bagging another 8 points and stretching that advantage over the opposition. So in the championship now, he has 51 points to the 39 of Cedric Lima. In third, it is Daniele Perfetti, who is not doing every race, but he is there in the mix, with 4th being John Minshaw, absent this weekend. Karim Auger 5th, Nico van Dierendonck 6th. Another absentee, Yoshiki Omura, is 7th, with Steve Earle, Alexis de Bernardi and Klaus-Dieter Freres rounding out the top 10. So they're the drivers on the podium. Those that we have for the overall as well as the Iron Cup celebrations. Mauro Ricci along with Anthony Pons in the middle, and Daniele Perfetti already on his phone, texting or tweeting his result. And Mauro Ricci steps forward then at the end of the first of the 2 races in the Blancpain GT Sports Club today. The qualifying race, 3rd place driver Daniele Perfetti is there for 2nd, and it's Anthony Pons who is the overall winner, and he makes his way to the top step. So Hugo de Silva from Blancpain in a moment will step forward with the trophies. A very happy race winner, Anthony Pons. But first of all, the trophy to the third-placed Italian driver Mauro Ricci. Then the trophy is handed over for second place Daniele Perfetti, who we don't see enough of really in this, but when he has the opportunity to come and race, then he is always a front runner. But Anthony Pons, committed to the full championship season, takes the winner's trophy, and they all huddle together for photographs on the podium now as befit gentlemen racers. Are they going to spray the champagne? Mauro Ricci with the camera across his chest, filming all of this, and of course they need their overalls to be moderately habitable for the 40-minute main race to come later on. So do we have the champagne? Oh yes, we do. And Anthony Pons is the man that celebrates as a race winner. Daniele Perfetti second, third for Mauro Ricci, and of course a 1, 2, 3 for the ACA ASP team. And those cars damaged trackside, you can see just under the podium the roofline of Patrick Van Glebaker's car that's been retrieved. But for AF Corsa, do they have enough time to do all that work? Because the main race starts at 25 past 3 and it's just gone 25 past 11 here. So can they get the job done in 4 hours? Steve Earle pointing out that it was a win for Klaus-Dieter Frers, and there Louis-Philippe Cernan will make his round to the podium in a moment as well for third place once we are ready. So now the driver's being called forward. Louis-Philippe Cernan for his third place makes his way to the podium. Third in the Iron Cup, which is for the over 60s. It used to be the domain of Martin Lanting, who's gone off to race in something else this year. There for second place, Steve Earle, and the top step, Klaus-Dieter Frers, taking a second-class win, and delighted to point out that he has finally got one over on Steve Earle, who had those 3 wins back-to-back, 1 at Misano and 2 at Silverstone. For Klaus-Dieter Frers, then a second-class win of the season, and he, along with Steve Earle and Louis-Philippe Cernan, collect their trophies, and Steve Earle dedicates it to the team as Blancpain's event specialist Hugo de Silva hands over a winner's trophy to Klaus-Dieter Frers, who is absolutely delighted with that, and 10th place overall. A great result for the German driver, and you can tell they're all great enthusiasts, not just of racing, but of Ferraris in general. But it's all smiles on the podium as now the champagne is brought forward for them. And Klaus-Dieter Frers ready to celebrate his second-class win of the season. So the result of this race will determine the grid for the main race, but the story, I suspect, is not over yet, with a number of drivers under investigation for incidents during the course of the 25-minute qualifying race here at Paul Ricard. So the main race coming up at 25 past 3. It's the longer race, it's the 40-minute event, and it promises to be a great fight between Anthony Pons and Daniele Perfetti from the front row of the grid. In the Iron Cup then, Steve Earle now with a 10-point advantage over Klaus-Dieter Frers. At least if you lose points in the qualifying race, you're losing fewer because the point scale is reduced. Louis-Philippe Cernan third, and Willem de Pundert is currently fourth. So the top 3 in that race, the top 3 in the championship, albeit in a slightly jumbled order. So the Blancpain GT Sports Club giving us a very lively start to the day here at Paul Ricard, and they're the top 3 cars in each of the classes in Parc Fermé, ready for the technical checks, and the story of any penalties we can reveal a little bit later on, with the main race due on track at 25 past 3. Is it going to be 2 out of 2 for Anthony Pons, or will we have a win for Daniele Perfetti? Don't bet against him starting on the front row of the grid, but either way it promises to be a very lively race that we can look forward to later on in this championship designed for the amateur drivers and giving spectacular racing. Join us later on then for the main race from Paul Ricard. For now, from David Addison, bye-bye.